Hey guys, it's Penelope in London, and I'm going to show you Mars retrograde, some information on Mars retrograde coming up, and explain also a little bit about the chart of today. I do read charts and I do that through Zoom. So if you want to book me, just check my booking page out below. And the reason I'm talking about Mars is because it is Mars is in Aries and it's going to be there for quite some time. Mars goes retrograde every 2 years and it's in its own home at the moment. So Mars rules Aries, and it's quite interesting that it's landed there at this time as we go through the history we're going through with regard to the breakdown of patriarchy and such. As we can see up here, you can see the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. We've got the moon that's just coming in and going over Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn, and we've got an opposition there to Venus, which is to do with our needs and our values. So we've got an opposing force going on here, and over the weekend we do have some trines going on as well. With Mars, we basically on September the 9th, it's going to go retrograde at 28 degrees, and then it's going to go all the way back to 15 degrees. And then on November the 14th, it will go direct. So wherever it falls for you, for instance, Mars is here, you can see. I'm just going to show you briefly before I begin to read. And we're going to go days ahead here. I'm going by days. I'm using solar fire. So you can see that Mars is 27 degrees here on the screen. And you can see that if I move it forward, it goes to 28 degrees. It stations. There you go, look. Station. And it's squaring Jupiter up here currently at that date. And then what it's going to do is, as we go forward, it's going to start retrograding. So 27 degrees, if you can see Mars there moving, and it goes back, 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 all the way to 15 degrees. And then it will go forward again. So I'm just showing you 15 degrees, and then it goes stations there. You can see the S there. Stations, and then it will go forward again. And here you go, we go forward, and that will be up until January the 6th, 2021, and then it will move into Taurus at that point. So it will be out of Aries at that point. There you go. I'm going to show you. There you go. So 0 degrees, and that's the 6th of, we've got the 8th there. So 1, 2, 6, just it leaves and it moves into Taurus. So what's going to happen if we go back now? I'm jumping around, but I'm going to read to you. We're going back by weeks: November, October, August. We are August the 28th, and we're going to go 26 days. 1, 2. Right, we're the 29th in the UK at the moment. Right, so the thing is, Mars, keywords, let's think about this, because Mars is squaring, I mean, this is the collective chart, and Mars is squaring currently, you know, it's squaring Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, and we've got this opposition. So we've got tricky, you know, we can feel tricky emotions at the moment, but the Mars keywords are action, aggression, anger. It can be animal instincts, competence, competitiveness, conquest, courage. It can be anger, and it's the animus, the anima and the animus. The animus, the work of Carl Jung, the male. And we've got courage, we've got drive, it can be dynamite, energy, force. It's where we're goal orientated. It can be impulsiveness. It can be to do with our libido, impatience. It's heat, you know, like fire, libido, I've already said that, life force. It's to do with lust. It can also be our physical energy, passion, masculinity, and where, you know, masochistic, sorry, machos, when we're macho, that's what I'm trying to say. Physical energy, potency. It can be rageful. There can be, you know, expressions of the sun included in this as well. And it's self-preservation, sex drive. It's to do with willpower. It can be violence, vigorous, temper, survival instinct, strength, sexuality, the male sexuality, and willpower. And we have creative expression here with this. There can be where we are direct and passionate and energetic and courageous. And it can also be where we, the proper use of willpower. It's where we can be a natural fighter, and there can be destructive expression with it. We can feel restless and also thoughtless sometimes, or be rude and quarrelsome. So we've got to look at what this means for us. For me, this is happening in my 5th house. So the most important thing is that you want to know your birth time, and once you've got your birth time, you're going to know your rising sign, which will tell you what house Mars is doing this retrograde in for you, where that's going to be for you. And then you can look at what aspects to your own chart. And if you need help with that, then I'm happy to help. So when we look at Mars in the 1st house, if it lands in your 1st house, so for instance, my 1st house is Scorpio, because I've got Scorpio rising, and my 1st house, it doesn't matter what sign we're looking for, the sign, but ultimately we're looking for Aries, where that's in and the house that Aries is in for you. So for instance, Aries is my 5th house, so it's happening for me in my 5th house. So if it's going through your 1st house, what you're looking at is it's a period of personal action, and you might feel frustration, and it can be, it's also affecting your energy, and it's about your inclination, resources, and it's your opportunity for accomplishing things that you might feel that they're not coming together very easily when Mars goes retrograde. You might be going a lot of flip-flopping, backwards and forwards, trying to get things done. And everyone is in the same boat, sometimes when this goes on, because everybody's going to have Mars retrograde in a house, and it's going to affect people, all of us, but depending on what area of life will be the house. Here we just want to make sure that we're not, being too pushy with others, and also making sure we know what we're up against, and, being slow and steady, not like bulldozing things, just taking things easy, because when it goes direct, the frustration will be over, and you'll be able to move forward again in your life, and you'll be able to just, take it easy step by step. And once you've got things moving forward again, you can begin to sort out your resources and how you feel about yourself. So you can make your presence known as well when it goes forward, because you'll be a force to deal with again. With the 2nd house, we've got, that would be the 2nd house that I'm reading now. It's where we're looking at the financial situation, and that we need to make sure that, anything we're fighting for, is it worth the fight? If we're fighting for money, and clearly a lot of people are going to be dealing with money issues at the moment with the COVID and whatever's going on. So, don't go spending money that you haven't got with this in the 2nd house. Just hold back and keep things easy, and just, see that you're not being over ambitious with spending and impulsive with that, and look at your resources and your ego as well. So you're just trying to satisfy the ego, for instance. When it goes direct, the frustration will begin to lift, and you'll be able to look at how you're dealing with your money and your resources and your values as well. You're going to be looking at your value systems whilst it's going through there, and what you feel and what your desires are. And with the 3rd house, it's about communication. And when we have this going through the 3rd house retrograde, we might feel that our ideas are not all coming together all at once. Like we might be going backwards and forwards, and negotiations may be a little bit more difficult. So we don't want to force things and be pushy and be impulsive. We need to be patient with it going through the 3rd house. And it's better to do things in little bits and pieces, rather than, trying to get everything done all at once. And it's staying in our own power, because this can test us when it's going through the 3rd house. And once it goes direct, then basically we're going to be in a position where we'll be able to move forward again, and we'll know what our communications will be much easier as well when it goes forward. So this is a bit general, but I'm just giving you some ideas so you know what you're dealing with when this does go retrograde. So in the 4th house, what we've got is that this is to do with the home and family, and it's where we want to be looking at our home and our family, and again making sure we're not impulsive around that, and be patient within the home and family. And because when it goes forward again, projects will pick up. So, you know, maybe what you can do is look at your home. It's like what needs to be done in your, you know, in your household, for instance. You know, what activities need fixing. You know, just concentrate and focus on the things that are right in front of you. And again, you know, just not being pushy. This is what we need to do with this, and also not being frustrated with things as well. When it hits the 5th house, we've got this is creativity and fun and joy. So the house of creativity, fun and joy. The 5th house is also Leo, and here it's about having fun. So, you know, we can step back and maybe, you know, watch some movies and just, you know, not feel that we have to run around like trying to overly create, and just take it easy, because projects created during this time, like projects may be started and not finished. Like for me in the 5th house, I'm building a website, I'm starting to write a book. So I've got all of these projects on, and I'm also making YouTubes and whatever I'm doing. And there's some things that I'm not sure creatively where I'm heading exactly, but I've got an idea. So I can just take my time over this period. So I'm quite grateful that it's in my 5th house, actually, because it seems like quite a nice placement for the Mars to go retrograde there. And when it goes forward for me, it means that, you know, all of these, if I've had any holdups with anything that's creative, I'll be able to go along with a more positive flow after it goes, when it goes direct in January. In the 6th house, this is about work, and it's also to do with health and routines. So this is a good time to look at our diets and stuff like that, and making sure we're looking after ourselves. It's taken a step back because we're stopped in our tracks, because Mars really is our desire, and our desire is being turned inward. You know, we have to look inward. So in the 6th house, one can look at their nutrients and their foods, and make sure that they're looking after themselves and sorting out routines and the way we do things, because when it goes forward again, and it's also the house of being of service, the 6th house. In the 7th house, this is to do with relationships. So we want to watch out for any repressed anger, and also, you know, watch how we're behaving with others in our relationships, and not getting into unnecessary fights or squabbles. It's like really just taking a step back and being easy with ourselves. In the 8th house, this is to do with, you know, birth, death, transformation, and recreating things as well, like, you know, things blooming and something new beginning. So one can look at what that means for them. Let me see if I've got a bit more on that on the 8th house. So it's resources, and also you might feel that things aren't terribly rewarding when it goes through the 8th house, but when it comes out the other end, you know, you'll find out, you know, what you want to be doing with your resources, and you'll be able to focus better on the direction you want to go with money, and merging with others as well, you know, if contracts and stuff like that, if you're doing things with others. In the 9th house, what we're going to do is be looking at our philosophy, and it's to do with, you know, overseas travels as well, stuff like that. I keep saying stuff like that, but I know what I'm saying. 9th house, it's also where we can look at, if we are traveling or thinking of traveling overseas, you know, we can basically travel inwards at this time as well, and we don't want to make any major moves whilst that's going through the 9th house. And we want to resolve, you know, any dogma in us, and, you know, sweat the small stuff, leave it till later. And, you know, the direction that we're going, we don't need to make any big moves at this time. And also you can, you know, take time to decide where you're heading when that goes out of Aries. And then the 10th house, this is about, I did want to actually say something on the 9th house, actually, a bit more. So it's where we, you know, studying is the other thing as well. So look at what you're studying. That's really important. You know, are your studies really what you want to be doing. And it's like, are you doing, you know, is there a better way of doing them? With Mars, you can look inwards towards yourself so that you can get to understand how you're carrying out any education that you're taking on board as well. And then in the 10th house, we've got our public image, and it's how the world sees us as well. So it's a good time to look at your business and what's not working and look at the structures. And we're all basically having to do that. A lot of people are having to do that right now, look at their public image and how they appear to the world. So you can basically, you know, maybe travel to do business. There can be stuff going on with computers up here as well, like, you know, how we're working online and in the public eye. In the 11th house, that's groups of friends, and it's our hopes and wishes. And in the 11th house, it may be a time to just, you know, do things on your own, and instead of, you know, and not draining yourself. And psychologically, it can be a good time to assess goals as well, because those are hopes, dreams, and things that make you happy, so you can review those. So I think it's about 6 weeks it goes retrograde. Let me check those dates again. We have in front of me, we have the dates are, so you know again, are September 9th at 28 degrees till the 14th of November, okay? So 14th of November is going to go direct, which is great to know. And then also the 12th house, what we would be looking at here is to do with our solitude. So it's a time to get in touch with ourselves and meditate and go inward, you know, and be at peace with ourselves. If you've got 12th house Aries, that's where it's going to fall for you. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of stop share, and I'm going to stop share, and then I'm going to go to my chart. So this is my chart, and what I want you to see is that if you have your rising sign, I'm going to show you right now my Mars. You can see just here. Let me get my pointer, and here it is. Okay, so Mars is here for me. You can see there, it's coming up to 28 degrees. It will be going on the, you know, in the next week, and then it's going to go all the way back to 15. So it's going to pass over my Venus here. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're looking at aspects. We don't want to generalize astrology. You know, it's not sort of cut and dried. We need to look at the bigger picture. So for instance, this is something that only happens every 2 years. So it's really worth looking at what planets it's going to be dealing with and the aspects. So for me, when this Mars, it's going to conjunct, it's already been on my Venus 15 degrees when it went 18 degrees when it went over. And then it's going to go back to 15 degrees, and then it's going to hit my Venus again. But the other thing it's doing, it also, at that point, it's going to activate it's called a yod here. And this yod will be hit at the same time. And then also, I've got another, this is a bit more complex, but there's another yod here. So when that Mars, when it does go forward further and it gets to 20 degrees here, I get another activation. So these yods are really fascinating as well. But I'm going to leave it there for today. Very basic video, but do know that you can, you know, really grow and evolve by understanding the archetypes and the astrology. And Carl Jung used it. If you've heard of Freud, Jung was 20 years younger than Freud, and Jung basically came out with the most amazing works of art and books, and you might have heard of a book called The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. And astrology is to do, you know, with the collective and not just our own personal chart. It's like we're all going through this at the moment. If I stop share here and I go back to the other chart that I was showing you here, you can see at the moment that we have the symbolism, the moon and Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn. The moon's going to go in over the next, you know, so many hours. It's going to be passing over these planets. So it'll be an interesting weekend to see how this plays out for us. We're going to have a new moon in Pisces, and then a full moon in new moon, and then we'll have a full moon also coming up. I think it's in Virgo. I hope I'm not saying this incorrectly, but I think that's right at the moment. And then I think that Mars is really a big one. So do look at your chart and look at the aspects. If you go to astroseek.com, you'll be able to find the transit aspects there. And if you need help, then just book a session with me. I'm doing an offer till the end of August, which I'm going to carry through probably to the end of September for $25. Okay, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.